don't we?
Yeah.
Maybe that's where we start.
Yes, that's a great intro. There we go. It's done.
Are we rolling?
Right, we are. Right.
Yeah,
So we have a very special guest with us today.
we do indeed.
We met this person a few weeks ago, Ideas Fest, a few months ago now,
Yeah.
at Ideas Fest. And we've been filming a documentary on their life because their journey has been absolutely incredible, outstanding, in fact, almost from where they came from and where they are today and how they did it in the period of time as well that it was done as well. Totally changed the sector. And we learned a lot about people, I feel, during that time. And that this person, it was all about the foundation of everything was about the people, the staff, and all the rest of it. And we wanted to do a podcast on people because, well, let's face it, you don't have a business without a team around you. And so there was there's only one person we can interview and talk to about people. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I feel like that's a very grand introduction. Thank you. I'm Andrew Hulbert. I am now an exited founder. I started a business called Pareto in 2014, which we grew over 10 years, and I managed to exit. We raised about $100 million for that through our exit. I bought a farm a couple of years ago, and now I do things like talk to you guys and drive around on a quad bike with the kids. So yes, in a real nutshell, that's me. And thank you so much for the kind introduction. You know, we've spent a bit of time with each other now. We know each other intimately. Or you know all my secrets from when I was a younger person.
I've got them all written down.
They're all on camera as well. My mum's going to learn a lot about me in that documentary. But thank you very much for having me back as well.
No, great. And the documentary, if we could start with that actually, because this was for me personally like almost a bit of a passion project. I'd said to you for years now, I would love to do a documentary, but I just wasn't sure on, it had to be the right person, right? Because it had to be, I think with a documentary, you have to be really open with somebody. And so you have to have.
But you want a passion for it as well. And over the years we said, we could do that, but not sure about that.
Yeah.
And it just was like a massive inspirational light bulb moment when we met you on stage. We were like, wow.
This is the man. This is the man. All the lights just.
What a unicorn.
And I was there in pink trousers
You were,
and a jumper that said, "Sounds gay, I'm in."
Yeah.
And
that was it.
That's all it took. That's
I went and
the
got one
advice.
printed.
Yeah. If you want
I'm in too.
you could probably print one while we're having this
Exactly,
conversation, couldn't you, on there? Yeah, I think when this was the first Ideas Fest that I'd been to, and Frankie James at Ideas Fest and Great British Entrepreneur Awards, she's been a real supporter of mine over the years, and actually so to be on stage with those other three amazing founders, exited founders, in fact, who I've gone on to work with, two of them that were on stage at that time. And a very charismatic compere who was, I'll say that, who was answering many of the questions from the audience as we were going through. Yeah. But after that, it was a little bit of a whirlwind because I'm only recently building my profile in sort of the entrepreneurial space. And so all these people came up to me afterwards and I was having a conversation and a woman came up and gave me a Whizzer cup that you wee in when you're walking around because that's her business, Whizzer, which I've used several times, by the way. So shout out to Whizzer if you haven't looked for one of those. And then there was someone else asking me if I'd invest in like an app that was to do with when you die, all of your information was left in an app that someone else could find it. They were asking me for investment in the queue as I just met them. About £250,000, I think it was.
Jeez,
and then
here's a check.
That's it. Next. And then you guys come up and said, "Hey, we really like what you said, and then you actually went away and recorded something in here, I think.
Yeah, the next day.
You sent me a video the next morning and said, "We're not that weird, but we got this idea of running a documentary. How do you feel about that?" And of course, for anyone with an ego, which I certainly have, they're like, actually, my life's good enough to talk about a documentary. But I think my life's has always been quite interesting because it's been very compartmentalized. And when we put together the script for what we were going to talk about, I think there were 9 chapters that we did in the end.
Yeah.
And crikey, I think after chapter 1, we'd all been crying. And we were trying to work out, my makeup was running and everything was going along there.
Sniffling.
But no, it was just one of those, it's funny how those things come together. And actually just shout out to Ideas Fest for anybody because
100%.
Honestly, I've probably had, say, 6 or 7 things that I've done off the back of meeting people there.
Yeah.
And it's just been amazing. So it's a great place to meet. But I think life is all about finding people you get on with and you're on the same level with. And I certainly felt between us that there was a great connection and we're all very down to earth. Everyone's just trying to make it work. And it's been a great process so far. And now we've recorded at least 16 hours of me talking to camera that you now need to edit and find a way out of.
Well, we've got 2 more days left. Yeah, don't forget.
I know. That's good luck with that.
But I mean, that Ideas Fest, I mean, we did a podcast on this, didn't we?
Yeah, about Ideas Fest.
I was very sceptical about Ideas Fest.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was literally, I think, halfway through the day about thinking, this isn't the right sort of environment. This isn't my kind of thing. And I was very open with you, and I said to we sort of fumbled across because we didn't know anybody there really. We didn't know anything was going on, and we came to what you were doing, your presentation with the 3 founders, ex-new founders, and we were about 10 minutes into it or something like that. And then we're just hearing your story, and it's like, oh my God. And Helen was like, we need to go and speak to that man. And I was like, what are we going to ask? What are we going to speak to? Say? I mean, he's all these amazing things. What are we going to say? And Helen was like, I don't fucking care. Just ask him a bloody question. So right, she marches me down.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, wow. So for me, we've already booked for next year for Ideas Fest. We will 100% be going next year.
Amazing.
Yeah, we've shouted out about it to so many people, haven't we?
Well, and they've upgraded the venue next time.
Yeah.
There's something called the patrons now that I'm doing with Frankie as well. So about trying to support new startups and stuff that are coming there and everything. So it's definitely building itself in terms of a movement. Just hopefully it doesn't rain as much this year.
Yeah.
But the rain sort of, I remember I was stood outside in the rain talking to Rory Sutherland, who's someone I follow a lot online. And he was just going to the toilet. And I said, do you mind if I come and have a piss with you, Rory, and have a chat? He was like, absolutely not. My agent is over there. Go and talk to her instead of me. And so I went and spoke to Daniel Priestley instead. He was lovely and gave me his number. And we've chatted a bit since then as well. So absolutely worth it because there's some massive names and no green rooms or anything. So, Rory Sutherland's having a piss in the toilets just like everyone else is.
Well, that's where you saw Kerry Katona.
I wanted to have a chat with Kerry Katona. I was like, oh, there she is. And she was so down to earth. And she's got an amazing story to tell.
Yes.
And she's so vulnerable about it, so open and honest. And like the press just really have told her story the way they want to tell it. And it was just we were just so buzzing after the day. So
that was really good.
We can't recommend it enough, can we?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
So I think that leads into so we're talking about the documentary a little bit. So what do you think about videos for business? For me, I mean, I bang on a bit all the time about how important I feel videos are when you get the true authenticity from people, not just talking about a fancy demo of a product and stuff, but getting to know people, the owners, the team, the customers, that culture, the behind the scenes stuff. What are your thoughts on video in business? Is it useful? Is it not?
Yeah. Without question, this is the most important time for video content that there has ever been for businesses. Everybody is doing video content. You are going to be left behind if you are not doing video content. You should have a fear of missing out. You should be out there trying to create some. Now, the reason I say that is with the world of AI and technology and it being much easier to make video for like general video stuff and imagery and stuff, we are losing that personality of individuals. And the only way you really get personality back is by sitting in a room like this and actually having a conversation with people. What you need to find is those people in your business that are comfortable on camera. That might not be the CEO, by the way. That might be the chief marketing officer or marketing director or your social media person. But actually, you don't need the most senior people. You just need the people that are going to deliver the most authentic version of your business. I also think, having done a bit of podcasting and video content now, you need to find people that you get on with, that you can relax with, and you can be yourself with. Not everybody loves talking on camera. We were just saying before, you turn the red lights off on the cameras so people don't freeze when they go and sit down. And actually, the best podcasts I've done, and even on the documentary, you almost forget the cameras are there eventually. And that's how you just get the most natural version of yourself. So, yes, more important than ever, those that don't do it will be left behind. And I think like what you're trying to do here is just give people the platform to create some content. The other challenge, of course, is people are busy and they don't have loads of time to go and do it. They have to travel around to get to these studios. I'd absolutely recommend going to film in a studio because the quality is so much better. Yes, videographers can come out to you, but like we were just saying, you'd be in some shit meeting room with marks on the walls and a whiteboard that's not properly clean in the background, all that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? That's not the brand you're trying to convey online. So just go and do a bit of studio stuff. And the price has come down so much from what it was previously. And you can actually get some really reasonable things. And also with the busyness, what a lot of people offer now, which I think you guys do as well, is come and shoot for a couple of hours on like once a month, come and shoot for 2 hours. That's all you need to take out of your diary. That's probably a month of content that you've got in there. And really what you need to understand right now is on the likes of YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, they don't want videos more than 60 seconds long. So you come and do an hour and a half of talking on camera. The team can clip it up into lots of different ways and just give you loads of content. But still coming back to that sort of long form idea of having a 30-minute interview or podcast, whatever, that everyone keeps pointing back to. So yeah, I just think it's more important than ever. And as someone that's now trying to build my own personal brand, like globally through podcasting, you know, I see it even more. And my short form, less than 60 seconds content does significantly better than the long stuff.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's because you almost have to, people's time is so precious. You mentioned it there, right? And people almost have to get, I've got to know who you are and understand who you are before I'm going to commit to half an hour. So those shorts are really important because it's like, well, actually, I can watch a few of these. I can flick through, whether I'm on the toilet or wherever it is, you know, on the bus or in the middle of an argument, whatever. And I can, oh, right, okay, interesting. I've seen that guy before or that lady before. Oh, right, okay. And they'll come up again. Right, well, actually, I've watched 6 or 7 of these now. I really resonate. 6, 7, yes. 6, 7, that's right. I'm just banned in my kids' school, 6, 7 now. Can't say that. Yeah, banned, yeah. They banned it in one of the restaurants, actually. There was like a McDonald's type thing
what
in America.
What 6, 7?
No, they took the number out and it went to 6, 8. It's just been taken from the system.
Shall we do that?
It's like no aisle 13 on a plane or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, God. Sorry, we digress. I couldn't help myself.
And so, you watch these 6 or 7, and now it's like, actually, I really like what this person's talking about. I buy into them. Now I want to learn more. And so those, actually, for me, if you don't have those 60-second clips, the long form is actually pointless unless you've already got this amazing following already. Yeah. Those are almost like that entry point of, actually, this person's who I want to be following and talking about.
But just on the following, so like even I take Pareto now, so they've got 10,000 followers on LinkedIn, right? That's a great place to start. Start feeding those followers because that's 10,000 occasions people have said, yes, I'm going to follow this business and just start feeding that in. LinkedIn, I'm not too sure how the algorithm works on video. I don't have loads of success with LinkedIn and video personally. Definitely I do on things like YouTube and stuff. You get a couple of thousand views on a short quite easily these days. But we were also talking, it's not necessarily about trying to get the most followers. It's about trying to get the amount of views that are going to be relevant to what you have. And I did, I just said I did a podcast with Sophie Milliken, MBE. And Sophie, she posted a picture of us afterwards talking about it. I think there was 115 views and 75 likes. That engagement rate is absolutely stunning. Now, that's much better to have 115 views and 75 interactions than have 10,000 views and 1 like. And that's the whole point. You can go and buy your followers if you want to. It's not very expensive to do that. But actually, if anything, it then makes the algorithm even more upset because you are not getting any interaction from those people you have. So the vanity of saying I got 10,000 followers, actually, I prefer to have 100 people look at my video and 75 of them like it. That's exactly what you should do. And your content will get pushed more as well.
Exactly. I mean, it's just like being a furniture maker and I sell only in Birmingham, but all my views are in Australia. It's irrelevant. It's because you're doing it for a reason at the end of it, aren't you? Whether it's to educate, whether it's to get leads or whatever it's for, there's a purpose for you doing it. So it's totally irrelevant. But so people, I really want to talk about people because we learned, should I say, so much when we came down to do this documentary, the first half of it anyway. And you sent me this whole, it was like a dossier, this document.
It's like a 160-page dossier.
So I'm going to be honest, I didn't read all the 160 pages. But there were some amazing things that jumped out on there. And it's interesting this to me because, and we've had calls on this like, and WhatsApp those voice notes and stuff afterwards, but businesses talk a lot about not just culture, but people are really important to me. And it's important that I have the right team and that I look after that team. And they have all these things they say outwardly, but you question, or maybe it's not always the case, that actually what's actually happening behind closed doors almost isn't what they're saying. Does that make sense? And so, but all your stuff, I mean, I'm going to let you talk about it because it's just, to me, it's just incredible.
We could do 3 hours on people with everything we did. If I just give a bit of context as to why people was important. So my background is working class, and I had parents who genuinely, my mum was in a supermarket, my dad was in a factory for 30 and 42 years, respectively. I saw them work incredibly hard. They're normal people working hard. They did whatever they needed to do to make it work, as well as working little side hustles outside of that to make money so we could live. But what I saw is 2 people that were dedicated to their businesses. And if they were sick, they would go in. And if they were really thinking about, oh, should I take a fake day off as a holiday? They just never would. They would do what was right for the business. But what I saw as I went into bigger business was that organizations didn't really treat low-wage workers very well. And in property services like we did, every website would say we value our people, they're our most important asset. But if their pay was wrong, they wouldn't fix it in that month. They'd wait until the next month. Well, if I'm a low-wage worker, I don't have until next month.
Yeah.
You know, my house may be repossessed in that time. Or if I've claimed something on my expenses that they don't like, they don't pay me. And I've taken a risk on the business's behalf, and now I haven't got my money back. And then it was just like boots in our business. There was a £30 boots allowance. And the guys look, you guys know uniform better than anybody. You guys, you can't walk around in a £30 pair of boots doing like 20,000 steps a week. It's just ridiculous. So that's sort of where the real basis of it came from. And the background I grew up in, all my family worked hard. Nobody was rich. No one had like amazing jobs. They had good jobs, but they worked hard for it. So when I started my own business one day, I absolutely had this just inner belief that you'd never change, that I wanted to help people and I wanted to do what was right by them. And I understood we would have some low wage people that worked in our business. And so we were like a living wage provider from the very beginning. I think we started in August. I think the next November we were already a living wage provider because we wanted to show people that we were trying to be a bit different. And most of the staff we had were engineers. So they were on, say, 35 to 45K anyway. So they were a little bit further up. But so really, that's where it all started. And then because of my roots and where I was from originally and like the multicultural nature that I'd grown up in and the open access that I'd had to people who were neurodiverse and the LGBT plus community and people that had suffered with drug usage and alcohol and trying to commit suicide, I had experience of all of that by like the age of 19. And so actually I counted myself as a very rich individual, like culturally and internally, and it made me hugely tolerant and almost... Because I'm a straight, white, neurotypical, 6'3" millionaire, it's very easy for me, right? There's no one in my life trying to make my life hard because I'm not marginalized in any way. But at least I could be confident on other people's behalf. At least I could build a business that was going to be fair for them to be within, because that wasn't always the case and we didn't always see it. So that's really where the people thing came from originally. And probably the best thing I can do is I can try and summarize it for you. I've tried to come up with a way because... business for me, if I just give a bit more preamble, there's a lot of selfish people in business who are always, especially founders and owners and senior management teams. And I'm not saying everybody's like that, but there are many people that are. For me, business is about sharing in the success. It's about bring people with you on the journey that you're going to go on. Treat people as if they are important to the business and they're part of the journey and they want to be with you long term. Because when you don't do that, and then you're a bit harder on people and you don't give them opportunities or they don't get a pay rise or they don't get a bonus, whatever, they start to feel a little bit pissed off with that. And then they start to sort of turn it around to go, this business may not have my best interest at heart. And so for me, it was always about, I was trying to do what was right for people. Now, look, in my time, I started in my bedroom. We got to 550 staff while I was there. I must have looked at, honestly, 25,000 CVs, if not more.
Which is incredible.
Yeah. And I mean, if I looked at a CV for more than 3 seconds, then that was probably it. I was absolutely brutal. And we used to do things like take all the names off the CVs so that we didn't have any racial bias, because racial bias is very real in CV hunting. I have probably Tupi transferred over maybe 300 staff, like personally shaking the hands and doing all the deals and stuff. And yeah, I had a team of 15 senior people in my business that are like my top guys. And it was the most diverse team in the sector. And we had a 0% turnover rate in that team over 10 years. So like we built teams that were amazing. We built teams that looked and felt and were different to other people in the sector. And almost that was what I went to sell to the sector. I wasn't saying we're a brilliant facilities provider doing the best servicing on your lighting.
Right.
I was saying, look at this culture, this team, this journey we're going on. Do you want to support us?
Yeah.
And we found the right customers that wanted to support us. And that tended to be big tech businesses because they love the culture. And that,
did that just happen by luck then that you found that? Or was that a strategy of actually these businesses are interested in that and we can use that?
Business is a lot about luck.
Yeah.
I think you have to create the opportunity for luck to happen, but business is a lot about luck. I think it just so happened that the first 3 customers were Bulgari Hotel, Yahoo, and then Candy Crush. So they were like the first 3 that we had. So we had an amazing jewelry brand that was globally known. We had Yahoo, which was massive at the time. And you had Candy Crush, which was the second most downloaded app in the world at the time we worked with them. And what I loved about Candy Crush, they never met their customers, because their customers was my mum sat at home spending 99p to get to the next level.
Yeah.
One of the most successful businesses that there's ever been, who eventually sold to Microsoft and is now owned by Microsoft today. So when we had those first few, that it wasn't a deliberate, let's go to Yahoo and Candy Crush. It was just, we managed to win them. It was a really compelling story then for when we went to the likes of Twitter. And I talk about Twitter a lot online, but Twitter was like our 5th or 6th. It was slightly later. But then all of a sudden you have, like, Twitter at the time was one of the best businesses in the world that everybody wanted to be involved in. It was a very secretive organization. So when you're in the club, like you were in the club, they looked after you in there. But if you weren't in the club, you weren't even allowed through the reception door downstairs, let alone onto the floor. It was a very secretive organization. So yeah, for me, it just so happened that in business, when you find yourself with, say, 3 or 4 tech giants that are now your customers, well, fucking go and sell to other tech giants and take that with you. Yeah. Had I have only sold to hospitals, I would have gone to other hospitals or universities. But business is about pivoting and about making the luck that you can. So I think I took probably 5 learnings from there, and I've tried to summarize them for you into a way. So I came up with this acronym of SHARE.
Okay.
So, and SHARE it covers so many different things. And I mean SHARE, SHARE, not Cher the singer. Although Cher the singer would have been way more my style.
I thought you were going to start bursting into song then for a minute.
So here's SHARE. So I think S is see potential in people. H is human first. So make sure you look after people. A is adapt your role.
Okay.
R is rewards and recognition. And E is embed the culture. I'll just quickly go through those. So S, see potential. One thing that worked for me was hire people that wouldn't usually get the chance in other organizations that were way bigger than you.
Right.
So I wanted to give people a chance who felt very lucky to be there. And what was really beautiful about that was when they got the chance, they're like, wow, I've never had a title like this, or no one's ever treated me this respectfully. No one's seen the potential in me, and I'm going to go and make the most of it. And a lot of the senior team that I took on, that Magic 15 that I mentioned, many of them hadn't held roles in the same senior level that I was recruiting them for. And I promise you, if you can make somebody feel really lucky to be there, really like they've got it all to prove, and that they're going on a journey with you, it's an amazing place. And you will buy loyalty in them that they can get approached by any other business and they're just not going to be seen in the same way that you see them. Doesn't cost you anything to do that. You know, there's just finding the right people. But look for potential in people. Don't just sort of look immediately in terms of what's right in front of you.
So sorry, how do you then go about telling that story or selling that journey? Because when you're first starting out as well, you're a smaller business. Somebody comes along and, oh, right, there's another company saying they're going to achieve X, Y, and Z. And there's a lot of people doing that at the moment, isn't there? But how do you then, how did you really embed that and instill them? Look, actually, I'm not just saying it, I am going to do this. And you will be joining me on this journey. How do you do that?
I say sometimes the first sale you win is convincing people to join your business. Yeah. Actually, that's the first sales role you have to do. Not find your first customer, it's get people to agree. I think you have to be charismatic. I think you have to be visionary. I think you have to really agree in your own mind around where this business is going. And again, from a mindset perspective, I always, even from the very, very beginning, I tried to talk about being this £20 million business. So we were making decisions as a £20 million turnover business from the very first day. So the systems we put in, the people we hired, the contracts we tried to win, it was about having that mindset. Now, look, I understand we weren't a £20 million business, but let's just say a client came and said, I've got a £500,000 contract. Do you want to tender for it? Well, if we're only, say, turning over 300K at that stage, 500K feels like oh gosh, are we going to be able to do it? But if we're acting like a £20 million business, 500K is nothing.
Right.
Can you make it $1 million? And then maybe we'll be interested. So it's just about how you approach things, and it's about having confidence, and it's about being a visionary. When you are starting out with nothing, and like I said, I had nothing when I started, all you have is yourself and your stories and your personality and your vision. And you just need to find the right people to convince. Now, believe me, there are many people I wanted to join the business early on who didn't join because they were worried. And I don't blame them, because if you're working for a £1 billion turnover business that your salary is going to absolutely be paid, there's no risk. There's just like it's going to happen every month. Well, as a side note, big businesses go bust as well, but you're unlikely to go bust. And as we know, 80% of new businesses fail. So you're really trying to sort of get these people on board. So I didn't always get it right. I didn't always, and I wonder, there's some people who I tried to hire who said no to us early on. And seeing the journey we then went on, I wonder how they feel about those conversations. And maybe they feel they missed out, maybe they didn't. But definitely, there were some people who, I tried to bring on and I couldn't. My sales patter wasn't strong enough yet. I don't blame them though, because if I was in their situation and I had a mortgage and kids and things, it's a really big decision to take on that side. So that's S. So H was human first. Actually, SHARE is actually a really, it's in the same order in terms of what we will do things in. So we've now found people to hire. So that's a good thing. Human first. Chuck away the CV. Forget everything you've ever known about recruiting people. Do not go and read a fucking textbook and then recruit off the back of a textbook. I promise you that is not the way to do it. We are humans, person to person. Do not, I've seen such terrible practices in my time. Do not go to HR and say, what are the 20 questions that I'm asking in this interview?
Okay, right.
Forget it, because actually there is no human interaction. How many times do you sit across from somebody and ask them 20 questions and they respond to you in 20 formulaic answers? That's not how we interact with each other. And I really believe this, that I always think about when times are bad, how are you going to act with each other?
Okay.
Something that's really, really important to me is respect. Like all the way through. Even if things are shit, if business is going badly, if you're getting beaten up by the customer or whatever's going badly, respect for each other in that senior team 100% of the time. There is no moving away from that disrespect piece. If you can keep that tight team that all work with each other. So I often used to think about people as humans in terms of if it was going really badly and I had to call you and say, look, you have not been good enough at that. This has caused this issue. How is that interaction going to go between us?
Okay.
Entrepreneurs and founders are okay, as you guys know, but also we can be very highly strung. And when things go wrong, we get pissed off about it and we start lashing out because we're really trying to change the world in one way or another, but sometimes we get it wrong. And that's what happens. So I just mean it. Just forget all the traditional interview process. Just go and be human with somebody. Go and have a coffee, go and have a burger, go and have a walk in the park. Go swimming together. I don't care. Just go and do normal things that people do together.
Interesting, actually.
And the team will tell you, yes, I looked at 25,000 CVs. Predominantly, all I was checking was, have you worked in this sector before? Yes or no. But say you give me a 2 or 3 page CV, I'm probably looking at 3 points on there. What was your last job? How long were you there for? And are you in this sector? Once I knew that, fine, forget it. I'm actually not that interested now because how are you and I going to work together? And certainly in my senior recruitments in my top 15, I would work additionally hard on those. And because I've been telling the story a bit more, I talk about going for a burger. So Dan, who is the guy I'm referring to there, he was the very first manager I took on at the very beginning. And I took him for a burger in Honest Burger in down in Waterloo area. We just had a chat. We knew each other for a little while before through networking, but I told him the vision. I was very open. He was the first one that left a massive business to come and join us. And Dan was really important then because he brought other senior people with him as well as time went on. So just don't forget the human element of it. And you'll be forced down processes, but just do it for yourself and work it out.
Did you ever ask Dan afterwards how he felt? Have you ever revisited that from his point of view? Like, because for most people that sounds alien. I mean, even when you're saying it to me, right, I've interviewed loads of people. I've never thought about let's just go for a coffee or a burger or a walk and do it outside of where everyone feels comfortable and let's just have a human. I've done the same. What you said there, I shouldn't fucking do. We just have that list of questions and let's write it down. Let's benchmark and score and all that sort of stuff. So have you ever gone back to him and said, how did you find that?
Yeah. Dan still works for Pareto today.
Right.
So he often reminds me, I mean, he must have joined, he's probably nearly 10 years into the Pareto journey now, because obviously Pareto is still a company today. Dan saw me at my best and my worst, and he saw all of, I can sit here and tell a wonderful story now, but I was making it up as I was going along. But he bought into that. He understood it. And he'll tell a story. I used to have a Nissan Juke. It was my first car. And I'd carry around a lawnmower in the back for some reason, upside down with the blade facing up, with all the seats down in the back. And he would come in the car with me. We'd drive around London, because I used to drive everywhere. He still tells that story today. It's like part of the heritage of the business. And Dan and I won't use the name, but we went and we sold to a massive pharmaceutical business. It was us and 2 other competitors. The other 2 competitors took in 8 people each to the pitch. Me and Dan went in on our own. And we took some donuts. And actually, Dan's a baker. He got through to the first round of Bake Off, for example, which is very, very proud of. And even at Pareto's Managers Day a couple of weeks ago, he brought loads and loads of cakes that he makes himself. And he's an amazing smoker of barbecued food as well. So Dan and I go into this sales pitch, just the two of us, making it up as we go along. It's £1 million pharmaceutical business, and we beat them, and we won, just the two of us.
Yeah.
And we were up against 16 other people, 8 and 8, and we just did it. And we drove out of there because I drove him back from Cambridge or wherever we were. And he just said, "How are we going to deliver that?" I said, "Dan, I have absolutely no idea, but we'll work it out together."
Wow.
Yeah.
And then as you start winning the bigger ones, you start hiring more people, and you grow and you grow. So. But people like Dan, they're real people, they're real stories, it's real culture. And he was absolutely be one of our biggest advocates. But also because he knows me personally, he knows that a lot of it was just, I was making it up. And a lot of it, he knows where the insecurities were and where the fragilities were. But I feel so passionate that it's so important we have relationships like that, because I had something which I call professional vulnerability. I was always happy to be vulnerable with people. If I didn't know the answer, I didn't pretend I did. I didn't bravado people out the way and say, "Oh, I know everything," because I don't. Nobody does. And actually, as soon as you can let your guard down ever so slightly, people will cut you some more slack. It's the same whether that's team members or whether that's customers. We're all fucking humans, right? And actually, this is what I mean about the human first. Just don't forget that. We get so caught up in what the internet says, in what process says, in what companies tell us to do. Let's not just forget. And do you know what always makes me really interested? I remember I've had a couple of challenging relationships with procurement in my time. Because you often argue about terms and conditions and contracts and payment terms, etc. I had a couple of negative interactions, and I thought, do you know what? This is a real shame, because if you were and I in the pub with each other, we'd get on really well in the pub.
Yeah.
But actually, I know I could probably never have a relationship with you now, person to person, because of the corporate environment that we found ourselves in. So I always try to think about things that way. And I like to take people at face value. I like to have a chat. I like to have a donut and a biscuit and all that sort of stuff, and just be normal. So for building culture and for building teams, don't forget the human aspect.
Okay.
Number 3, I really like this one, which is and it's adapt your role. This was one of my secret superpower ideas that we used. Adapt your role means when someone comes to apply for your job, work out how is your job going to fit around their life, not their life going to fit around your job. And there are only certain roles that works and doesn't work for. But say I'm looking for a central administrator or something like that. The secret weapon for Pareto was mums that only wanted to work between, say, 9:30 and 2:30 p.m. and they wanted to be at home. This was before COVID that we used to do this. So this was a really novel idea that people could work from home. Now, what I found is if you can make your job flexible around people and around their lives in a way that other businesses can't offer them that same flexibility, they'd be willing to work for slightly less, because actually it's not all about the money, it's about their life. And the loyalty that you grew was just massive because they couldn't go anywhere else. And I'm not saying you were holding people to ransom. I'm saying you were building a environment that only worked for them. And you could do it. And people don't believe me when I say this. When Pareto went for its final exit, we're about 42 million turnover and 550 staff when I exited at that stage. We had one 4-person flexi desk office in Reading. That was it. Our rental was less than something like 25 grand a year, maybe even 12 grand a year. It was almost negligible. I do a lot of M&A now. I meet businesses that are 20 million turnover and they got 6 offices in the UK and it's costing 150k, 200k a year in rental. I'm like, you guys are mad. Like, what? We had a 3.9% overhead in Pareto, which was very low, but because we ran it in a certain way to make it efficient. So, and partly the reason we were able to do that was because we could be flexible with where people worked. It also meant that, say I needed an admin, it didn't matter where in the country they were based. And of course, if you're recruiting in central London, an admin may be 30 odd K. If you're recruiting in Newcastle for a remote worker, that might be a 22k role. Right. And actually, I promise you, the quality will be better from the person up in the north as well. So like, mums was one of my secret weapons because we adapted the role around them. I also worked really hard when I was building teams to understand what was the individual giving up to come and work for us. I really cared about what did you do on the weekend? Like, I don't know. So say you were in a divorced marriage and you had your kids on a Saturday, for example, that could really impact. If I called you on a Saturday and said, oh, this has happened or this has happened. So I really wanted to get to grips with, I expect you to do the 9 to 5, but in property services, there is no 9 to 5 because buildings are there all the time. So I expect you to do that, but actually what's going to happen outside of it? And also, if I push you, what's your reaction going to be to that push? Yeah. Because I am incredibly tolerant. So yes, I call on a Saturday and expect people to answer, but you called me on Monday and said the kids were sick. That's fine. Yeah. Whatever you need to do. The output is what I need.
That's the human element.
Yeah, not the input. And again, adapting the role around those individuals. Some people will watch that and say, well, I can't adapt my role, but you can. And also, like, looking at terms and conditions, I also really cared when people would come and join. I'd be like, what benefits do you want? At the beginning, we weren't structured in our benefit process. So you'd have a certain pension, maybe you'd join the life assurance scheme that everybody did. But in the senior roles, I'd be like, what else are you interested in? And, you know, some people really want private dentistry. That's something that's really important to them because they go to the dentist a lot and they care about their teeth. Some people couldn't give a shit about their teeth, and that's fine because they care more about having a car allowance that could do this. Or some people wanted additional annual leave so they could go on holiday a bit more, or they wanted an enhanced rate for overtime or something. I was almost like adapting almost on a case-by-case basis what's going to work for you.
Yeah.
Now, advice, that's okay early on. And when you get to maybe 100, 150 staff, when you get to 500 staff, today there are 800 staff, it's not as easy to do that.
A bit more problematic.
But when you're in like fight or flight mode early on as an entrepreneur, you need to do what you can. So yeah, adapt and just forget the rule book.
That's really interesting.
Do it in your own way.
Because you say, you say.
Yeah, well, we've recently, the last 18 months, we've realised that niche where there's so much talent in mums that aren't in a position to work full time, who are extremely skilled workers, and so a few of our roles now have become part-time but also term time for them, because it's so stressful having to manage children in the summer holidays. It's so expensive, and that's working really, really well for us, isn't it?
It's unlocked a whole load of talent.
There's so much talent out there, and we keep trying to say to other businesses, like you said, there's so much talent there and everyone wins. You know, like you say, adapt where you can. I mean, ours is a hands-on business, so we have people working in production and in the office space. But yeah, thinking out the box and making it work for them is so important, isn't it? I love that.
Shout out to the mums, you know, and I really mean it. They actually, so many women, they go and have kids and their businesses then play them down because they're not given the same opportunities. They don't go back to the same role. They're trying to do part-time and balance children as well. You have all the biological changes that happen at the same time. Yeah. And actually, without those incredible women, we just wouldn't have an economy like we do. And I just think the easier you can make it for that skill set to be continued to be utilised, the better. And it comes back, when I was a kid, you know, the men in our family, a very traditional family, the men would be out working 60, 70 hours a week. So our mums raised us, and my aunties and my nan, that was who we were. And respect for women was one of those very early things that we were taught. And in my family, if you ever disrespected any of the women in our family, you'd be in trouble. And actually, that's not a place that you wanted to be in. And growing up as like a very hardy feminist like I am these days, I'm very grateful that that's the tolerance that I grew up with. And my dad today, even today, if I dared disrespect my mum or my sisters in a certain way, I'd be in significant trouble, even as a 39-year-old. You know, and I can outrun my dad these days, but I couldn't when I was a kid. So.
When I was a kid, it was the look. If I said to my mum, it was the look of, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that kind of thing. Won't be saying that again. Didn't have to say anything. It was just a stern, watch it.
My mum would probably get arrested for this these days, but when I was a kid, I did push the boundaries, as we talked about in the documentary. But I remember once I kept swearing when I was about 8, and my mum said, you do it again, I'll take you upstairs and wash your mouth out with soap. And I did it again, and she took me upstairs, and she got a bar of hand soap, and she washed it around my mouth. And I can still taste the bits of green soap in between my teeth now. And I swear like a fucking trooper these days, so it didn't quite work. But no, that's, you know, we grew up in a wonderful household, but it was strict in terms of understanding what those values were and being very real. But I wouldn't suggest washing out kids' mouth. If I did that to my kids now, my wife, I think that would be the end of everything as we went through.
It's a different world now.
Yeah, it is.
My mum used to do the 1,000 slap a second on the hand sort of thing.
Oh,
I was really, she had this way of just being able to do it so fast. Yeah. It was like, oh my God, that was incredible.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was adapt. So number 4 is reward and recognition. Now, this sounds like an obvious one, but I just give some real tips on reward and recognition. It was really important for me that we rewarded good behaviour, no matter how small it was. So a little tip, there's a system called People HR, which we use as our HR system. Very cheap, very low level, all mobile based, really nice little system. on there, it had the equivalent of like a Facebook wall where you could send thanks to each other for things that had happened. So it may be a customer champion badge, or it may be, I don't know, an extra helpful badge, whatever. Whenever any of those badges were sent, or whenever a customer wrote to us with the most basic compliment to somebody, we give a 50 quid voucher every single time.
Wow.
So basically, consistently rewarding the positive messages that were coming in. I remember a guy called Barry Strong. He may watch this. He would always go and help people. He was in an office, and he'd go and like do office moves or move chairs around and stuff. And people would say, "Oh, thanks, Bazza. That's really helpful of you." He's like, "You wouldn't mind just dropping me an email, would you?" And he had like 7 or 8 of them. He's getting 50 quid every time. I was like, "Barry, I think you've worked out my system here." But actually, that is really good at just consistently rewarding behaviour in a really small way.
Yeah.
And 50 quid to a lot of people in a voucher is a great load of money.
Yeah.
And actually, you know what? The reality is of 50 quid, some weeks that might have been able to be able to get extra food shopping
Yeah.
or be able to pay their heating bill or whatever. It really mattered. And I know we went on to grow this big business, but never forget about the little people that actually it's important to them.
Yeah.
All this stuff is. As it was, if my family ever got a 50 quid voucher at Christmas, or my dad's company used to give them a turkey. On Christmas, they gave them a literal turkey.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then the rewards actually go up a little bit now. So I ran this thing where if you, I ran this thing, I went to the board and I said, I want to give people the chance that if they find a new contract for us that's over £200,000 a year and we convert it and we have it for 6 months, I'm going to give them a £10,000 check.
Okay.
And the board said no. Charlie said no. So Charlie, I'm going to do it anyway, right?
Okay.
This is my business. I'm going to get on with it. It's like, well, you can do it, but you're never going to give away a 10 grand check. We gave away 2.
Okay.
We did it twice. Once to a woman called Emma and another guy called Nick. And that £20,000 that we paid out to those 2 has given us back 10 million in revenue.
Jesus.
In the time that the business has been running. 10 million in revenue. And I say to anyone out there, would you pay me 20 grand for 10 million of revenue over like 6 or 7 years? It's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
Now, Emma, I think she went to Disneyland, Orlando Disneyland, and Nick, he paid off a load of debt. It was such a stress reliever for them to be able to do it. And I have these beautiful photos. And of course, me being me, I got a huge comedy check made. And I got on both occasions. And I used to run managers' days where I had all the management team together every 6 months or so. And there's maybe, say, 50 people in a room. Now, Emma, what happened with her was somebody on LinkedIn messaged her and said, oh, I think there's this opportunity coming up. And all Emma did was forward me the message. I then sold the contract. She didn't even know anymore after that. And she didn't know we converted it, and she didn't know it'd been 6 months. So we go to this manager's day, and I've got all 50 of them in there. And I'm like, everyone, don't forget that we've got this this £10,000 check idea. Just come, you have to find a £200,000 contract. And I left it right till the end. And I said, guys, actually, I was lying to you. Somebody has won this this check. And I got them all to do a big drum roll, and no one in the room knew who it was going to be. Wow. And so when we were able to present this check to Emma, and she was just absolutely blown away. Wow. And Emma was only quite small, so the check was actually bigger than she was, which there's some brilliant pictures of it. Stories like that and rewards like that. Now, look, that didn't cost me anything, because unless Emma, if she hadn't have sent me that LinkedIn message, I never would have got the income. And the income well outweighed the £10,000 check that I then paid her for it. So definitely create some rewards where you can change people's lives. And look, the salary ranges that people are on were like 30, 40K. So a 10K check is really a significant thing. And especially if you go and like blow it on a dream holiday or something, that's amazing. Never going to get that opportunity to do it otherwise. So I think with reward and recognition, do that. The other thing I would say in this area is just promote your people, like promote them outwardly. Promote them so much that they have the opportunity to leave you because you've told other people how brilliant they are, but you treat them so well that they stay. Yeah. So that when other people competitors call them up and go, oh, hey, I saw you're in Pareto's campaign for this, that, and the other. They're like, yeah, I fucking love it there. Yeah. And I'm really proud to be on the website and be part of the marketing campaign. And I ran this thing called More Than Just FM, where I had this, it really came back to my mum. I think when my mum was a supermarket worker, like stacking shelves or being on the tills, people would see them as they're just a supermarket worker, or just a cleaner. And in facilities management, because we have cleaners and receptionists and engineers, people would look at them like they were just that role. Yeah. When you talk to people, they had amazing lives and they did amazing things outside. And yes, they happen to be a cleaner, but why is that a problem? But that is how society treats those people on low wages. So I started talking to more and more of our team, and I had a chat with a guy called Samuel, who was an engineer at English National Ballet for us. And I started talking to him, and he's, "Oh, what are you doing on the weekend?" He's like, "Oh, I'm a gospel singer. I play the piano and I sing gospel." I'm like, wow, it's amazing. And he pulls up his YouTube, and he's got this like, amazing voice. And I'm like, "Samuel, let me take a picture of you playing the piano in tails and like get these lights on you." And the whole campaign was showing that if you turn the rhetoric round and identified people by their passions, you would look at them differently as if you looked at their job. And that's any job. Doesn't matter what job you do. You know, because you might be an estate agent or a car salesman, and people are going to have views about who you are. And we promoted the shit out of those people on our socials because we just wanted to show that we love them and that they were part of our business. And also because what we sold was people services to organizations, we were able to then show them that we loved our people and we could take their people on and love them as well. So yeah, every time we took on new contracts, we tried to get someone in to do the more than just campaign, but just love them so much that everybody else knows how brilliant they are.
I really love that.
You treat them so well.
You can celebrate internally, but you were celebrating externally
Yes.
for the world.
Yes.
Look at this person. Look at amazing things they are doing here. But look at also what they do in their own personal time and how amazing. And I love the fact that you celebrated that. And I saw some of those pictures in that pack, and it was just it was so nice to read and see some of those stories.
The one I loved, Idris, he was a technical manager for us at ASOS, but he also happened to be a DJ on Croydon FM on Tuesday afternoons. We adapted our job, so every Tuesday afternoon he could go and be a DJ. And he did Afro beats. That was his DJ stuff that he did. Now, the pictures of him are down in a subway looking extremely gangster. And you don't think he's a technical manager, but you're not thinking about that at that stage. You're thinking about just sort of that grimy, graffiti-filled subway that he stood in with the puddles and stuff around him. And it's magic. Yeah. And actually, I just really like that. Just to finish on reward and recognition, the other thing for founders and owners in particular is give some bloody shares away. Like, stop holding all the shares for yourself. Give it away in either an EMI scheme or sometimes called a HOPE scheme, and a sweet equity deal where you can just give people shares and they only get value at the end, or give away real equity. Give people a chance to come in on the journey with you. If you want to build loyalty in your very senior team, give some of the business away.
Yeah.
80% of something and 20% has gone to another group of people is going to make you a way more valuable business in the future rather than having 100% of everything and not giving anybody else any money. I've always given shares away. And even when we did the last deal, I gave some shares away very last minute to people that hadn't been recognized, but I wanted them to be recognized. So literally giving value away to people at the very end. And they're people that I cared about and people that I thought, actually, we got it wrong by not recognizing you early enough, but you have been critical. So this is my gift to you. And it came out of my pot. I gave my own pot away to be able to do it. And actually, they're people that are still friends of mine now and that we still work together. And I hope to do some business and new business ventures with them in the future. But yeah, get out of your own way, entrepreneurs and founders. Just let someone else have a go as well.
Would you do that early on? So, I mean, because at the beginning, you don't know... You've got this idea, and you get these at the beginning. Everyone's in like I call the honeymoon stage still, right? Everyone's in the best behaviour, and at what point do you say, actually, this is the person that needs to be involved in that?
It's a really good question. I'm not sure I know the exact answer to that. What I would say is something like sweet equity, which is usually a pot of about 20% that you gift to people, and they only have that. It only has value if they're there at the end when the business is sold. You can fire people still. You can make them redundant. You can get rid of them. The shares go back in the pot. They don't take it with them. So if you were to set up like a sweet equity scheme, I'm not saying be brutal. I'm just saying set up a scheme and they get, say, 3% of the business or whatever you're going to give to people. If they're still there at the end, well, that's your choice because you didn't get rid of them beforehand. If you're a couple of years in, you're thinking, oh, this just isn't working, you can still dismiss them. You can still get rid of them. Now, if you give away real equity, obviously that is a different story. That's why sweet equity is such a nice thing to be able to do, because the up to 20% pot is available, whatever you choose the pot to be. If it doesn't all get allocated, you keep it anyway. And it only gets value at the end. And when people leave on their own accord or you dismiss them, they lose the sweet equity as well. So, and actually, before you do it, get some advice, go and speak to your accountant and stuff, because there are tax implications sometimes, depending on where you're at in your business. But I 1000% recommend doing that. And you will get loyalty out of people because they want to be there on the final day when everyone gets their money. And really, money shouldn't always be a motivator, but it certainly helps as you go through. Right, and final one, E, embed culture. We talked about this already. I don't care what your culture is. I don't care if you're a great like ESG business like we were, where everyone's fluffy and everything's rainbow and you all love each other, or whether you're a horrible business that treats people badly and is very direct and no one has any empathy for anybody. I actually don't care. If that works for you, you do you, right? But you need to be consistent with your culture. So if you are the latter and you're a bit more of a direct business, maybe it's a financial business with high stakes in terms of investment and things, you are going to be quite nasty to each other and it's going to be a bit cutthroat. Those businesses are everywhere and that culture does work for some organizations. Hire people who are going to meet that culture.
Right.
Don't go and hire a soft, fluffy person who thinks everything's going to be wonderful, because you should not mismanage their expectations as you go into it. And also similarly, if you have a brilliant culture like we were able to build at Pareto, which was very diverse and very open and very inclusive, you can't bring someone with the wrong mindset and put them in the middle of that,
Right.
because absolutely they will become toxic.
Yeah.
And actually, I said this before, but toxic people have a lot more of an impact on your business than positive people do. So you will destroy things quicker with one bad person than you will make things better with one good person. So the other piece of advice with embedding culture is, if it's not working and the person is wrong, get rid of them. Again, don't need to be brutal, but actually like you need to make that decision. And recently, you know, the UK has announced that we're going to change the unfair dismissal range from 2 years originally down to 0, which was ridiculous. 6 months is just about a compromise, but I'm still really unhappy with it personally. You need to get on with it and understand whether these people are going to be right for you or not in the organization. And you just need to be cutthroat and you just need to make the decisions and actually get on with it. So embed your culture, whatever your culture is, do it. And the final bit I'll say on this is our culture was, we don't employ dickheads. That was our culture.
I like it. Was that in a policy?
Yeah, it was. We used to. I used to blog about it a little bit. I remember I hired a woman called Sharon, and the reason I gave her the job, because Sharon was totally bananas. She said, "Oh, I read your blog," and she just kept saying this "don't employ dickheads" thing. And I was like, "Yeah, Sharon, you've really got the answer here for what we're trying to do." And Sharon was a content writer, and we won some great jobs between us. We actually stole it from Deliveroo when we worked with them. In Deliveroo, it used to say "give a shit" on the wall. And I like this swear word part of it, just give a shit. So Deliveroo, the whole point was, even if it's not your job, it is your job.
Right. Okay.
Right? Get on with it. Take ownership of it. And this sort of we don't employ dickheads was a similar vein. And we used to be able to talk to each other. If any of us, including me, was being out of line, Andrew, just stop being a dickhead, for a second. And you like recognize that language with each other. But that team of 15 that we had was so tight that you could talk to each other in that way. I go back to respect. It's always about being respectful to each other, even when things go wrong. And many, many, many people don't get that bit right. So yeah, don't employ dickheads. But if your culture is to employ dickheads, then fantastic. Maybe your quote is do employ dickheads, and that's the culture that you have. But, so welcome to Share. That is the, and I think I'll do another one of CHER one day. I really like that idea of Share, the singer. But yeah, that's my thought process on it.
That's really interesting, isn't it? I think there's a lot that we could certainly take away from that as well. And we've had conversations about these little bits and pieces as well.
Yeah.
And, I'm going to pinch not be a dickhead now as well.
Yes, you could get it embroidered onto something actually, couldn't you? Next time I come up, I'll wear a T-shirt that says that.
I think it is important though that because the employer seeing. I always get them mixed wrong. So the business actually trying to make it work for the person that they're employing. Because I think it's just saying, well, you're lucky to work for me, so you will do what I want. Exactly. And you will say yes, and you will do what I say. And that's something that you've always said. And hearing all of those examples really sets home like how important it is and how it keeps people in the business and wanting to work hard for you because they know that you actually genuinely care. Yeah. And it does go a long way. And it's not, like you say, it's not always about the money. Because I'd felt the same in previous roles, like I'd never had a thank you or I'd never felt appreciated. And it wasn't even just about the money. It was like, well, I've tried really hard on that. It would have been nice to just say, that's great, thank you. Yeah. So that was definitely something that we've wanted to bring into our business, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
and we've always said that recruitment is a two-way process.
Always.
Right? They're selling to us as much as we're selling to them about who we are and what we're about. And there's a lot that we've still not got right and we've got to work on for sure, but it's a two-way streak.
And also, I really believe in win together, lose together. So we only did bonuses once a year and it was always at Christmas. And either everyone got a bonus or no one got a bonus. Now, luckily, we had enough financial success when I was running things that everyone had a bonus every year and it was slightly more than the year before. It ended up costing us a fortune, but it was the right thing to do. And Christmas is a very expensive time for everybody. I didn't love this concept of individually bonusing people. I wanted to bonus the entire management team. So even outside of those 15, like we had maybe 65 managers being bonused at the same time in our like the top of it. So like it was important that they all felt they were part of something and that you were all part of the team. And if you actually, everybody had to perform. It wasn't about dragging people along. And I really love that cultural piece because I found people who work with individual bonuses are very selfish because they're trying to make more bonus. I understand that. But actually, like, you win and lose as a team.
Yeah.
Luckily for us, we mainly won, and it was very positive.
That's really important. Again, like say, winning and losing. We have this thing here that it's similar. We win together. We fail together.
Yeah.
That's it. We're all a team. There's never an I, and we try and create this culture of everyone support each other and help each other out. There's a lot more we have to do, but
internally, we like to see each other as customers.
Yes.
So get that ready for them. Help them. Make sure it makes sense to them, because then you're doing it properly, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And there's one more thing I wanted to talk about, because I could talk to you all day about the people. I find the stories absolutely fascinating. I really do, and there's loads more. But I wanted to quickly touch on, because something you said the other day, which was really interesting to me, is that on nearly every podcast you've been on and every sort of interaction you have, like interview sort of based, it was almost this expectation that you would have gone through depression as an exited founder. And I want to let you explain it, but that yours has been very different.
Yeah. This is not something I expected, to be honest, and maybe something I took for granted, but I really wanted to finish, right? And I really wanted to retire is a very strong word, but I wanted to stop operationally being busy on a day-to-day basis, almost exclusively. And I've done a number of podcasts now. People aren't just saying, how did you avoid depression? They're saying, tell us what you did to avoid the whole thing. And I don't actually have a proper acronym for this one, but I just give you a bit more information on it. I think there are probably 3 areas that are really, really important on this one. I really knew that I wanted to finish up, and I gave myself a 3-year window. So when I had the first investment in 21 and I became a millionaire then, and I did all the nice stuff that I wanted to do, I'd really taken the pressure off myself. And I know we talked about this, and I don't mean to be morbid, but I was in that process where if my life ended, everyone I cared about was okay. And I'll tell you, the relief that came off my shoulders at that stage was massive. Coming from the working class background and supporting on my family, I knew they'd all be all right. And my wife would be okay, and my kids would be okay, et cetera, et cetera. So that was a really big sort of like starting point for me. But what I also had is I knew there were these things I wanted to do. So the first one was like, and I mean this for entrepreneurs who are going to exit at some point, what are those dream things that when you're in the shower or when you're just sort of like thinking about stuff, or you're really pissed off about something, I wish I could be doing that instead. What are those? And so like your vision for what those things could be. So for me, I had 3. Number 1 was I wanted to hire an entire hotel on Christmas Day and pay for everything, which I was able to do last year. So I hired a 35-bedroom hotel near where I lived. I invited 75 members of my family to come on Christmas Day. Look, council estate families, they're very big. I paid for all the hotel rooms, all the alcohol, all the food, everybody in one place.
Incredible.
Partly the reason I did that was because all my family used to argue with each other about who was going to host Christmas Day, because they're not in big houses.
So big families, small
yeah,
spaces.
no one's got 75 spaces or like enough puffy cushions or whatever to sit everybody
pans
on.
to cook the potatoes.
Oh.
Yeah, and God, there's a whole podcast on my family on Christmas Day. We are so lucky as kids that we got more presents on Christmas than you could possibly imagine. So we have so many aunties and uncles and cousins and second cousins, and you don't really realise who you're related to, which is important on council estates that you know that, so you don't start inbreeding as things go in down there. That's why I had to go to a different council estate to start with.
Can I see your birth certificate before we start a relationship?
It was one of those sort of situations. So like doing that was a big thing for me. I wanted to go on a holiday longer than I'd ever been on before. Now, when you have children, there's only so long you can go on holiday for. So I said I always wanted to go on a 4-week holiday. But not just that, I wanted to go and hire somewhere that had, say, 6 to 8 rooms and say to everybody that I knew that I loved, hey, we're going to be here for 4 weeks on this time. There's a load of free bedrooms. Come and go as you wish. Like you'll need to pay for your own flights, but everything else we'll cover. We'll cover the food, the alcohol, the accommodation. You just turn up. And actually, so we've done that 2 years in a row. We're doing it this year coming up as well. Yeah. That is absolutely magic. Like the richness of the time you get with the people that you love. Yeah. You are not looking, going to have to go home. I need to start packing, so I've got to go home in a few days. Forget it. Just go, and like we go down to the southwest of France. Go to the boulangerie every day, spend €50, put on 4 stone, who cares, right? Just go and enjoy yourself. And the richness of those conversations, you get to reflect on the success, and you're with your mum, and like all these things, it's important while everyone is still here that you love, have the time to do it. And that's why like children play such an important part to me. And really children was the first one. I wanted to be an active parent. I wanted to do the school run. I wanted to go take them swimming after school. I wanted to do the homework. I wanted to do the reading. And like, I've been able to do that for the last couple of years. So they were sort of the few things. I had these really specific things that I wanted to focus on. The next one then is actually about understanding that you are going to get to a place where you need to have a plan. And the way I was able to do that, I worked with a business psychologist guy called Stuart from Candola, amazing guy. And he taught me so much about myself. This was when I was in the height of working really hard and couldn't see the wood for the trees, was just highly strung times 1,000. And I had about 6 or 8 sessions with him. And he said, right, Andrew, tell me what's going on in that like fucked up head of yours over there. And I sat and I just chatted to him in the most open way. It was like a therapy session, but in like a business psychology sense. And he digested it all and he listened and he was so sympathetic to everything I was saying. And he said, look, Andrew, you're like an Olympic athlete that is about to win a gold medal. Many Olympic athletes, after they win their gold, they go into depression afterwards because they've been working and working and working, and now they've done it, and now what's next? Right. And he said, you're swimming towards an island, and for many years you haven't been able to see that island, but you can see it now, and you're swimming even harder. You're swimming harder than you even have levels of energy to get to that island. You're going to kill yourself if you're not careful. But when you get there, what is the plan? Because what you don't want to be doing on day one is sitting on that island with a coconut in your hand and no one else around you, and you're going, what's going to happen next? And some people who make dozens of millions of pounds, they will just go to the Bahamas and they'll sit on a beach. And very quickly, they're looking around going, oh, what am I doing? Yeah. And actually, what am I aiming for? And what about this? And what about that? Money is wonderful and money gives you loads of options and things, but how you use your time becomes really, really important then. And actually, so for me, I just surrounded myself back with my family. Now, I was talking to somebody on LinkedIn messages about this randomly. When I grew up, I was given the belief that I could go and do anything. And I had a real confidence when I was younger. Yes, my mum wanted me to actually go and work in a business and sort of have a more traditional route. But I was given the chance to do what I wanted in a way that if it all failed, I could go back home and go back to my bedroom again. Okay. So I had this safety net, a psychological safety net and a wonderful relationship with my family. So for me, all the way through, if it went wrong, I knew I could go back. After I'd really taken myself out of the family unit for 8 or 9 years because I was so busy, and I'd go to my mum's on a Saturday and I'd fall asleep on the living room floor because I was just exhausted, and I'd be working on Sunday again anyway. I just put myself back in the middle of that unit. And that's partly why maybe 4 or 5 million of the money I made, I gave to my family to enable them to all be secure. And with their houses and my dad retiring and, houses for my sisters and stuff, it was just about trying to make sure that they were all going to be okay. Yeah. And almost me saying, sorry, family unit, I haven't been here for this long, but I'm back. And by the way, yes, I've gone and done this. Just a side point to that, that sounds wonderful and amazing. And my parents are very proud. But that's it. That's done now. Yeah. To some degree, like when I go around now, I'm nothing more special than my sisters. Because why should I be? Yeah. I'm part of the family unit. We're all as important as each other. Yeah. So like those values are very dear and very real. So, but having a plan when you get to the island and knowing you're going to get to the island. The other thing I'd say, being a millionaire in your late 30s is brilliant, but your mates are not there. Your mates are at work. Your mates have their own kids. Yeah. You see other people at the gates in the morning at school, but they are all rushing off to work and they've all got other stuff to do. It's not as if there's 40 of you just say, oh, let's go and play tennis today or paddle or go swimming. You have to build something for yourself. And like that's really, really important that you do that. And then I just think the final one is just is investment. So just understand who's going to help you with your money after the deal has come in. You have a day where 8 figures turn up in your bank account and you're like, oh, that's an awful lot of money. And you're like, what am I going to do with that? And I remember mine came into my current account that was on my debit card. and you can, this is first world problems, by the way, but you can only move £250,000 per transaction on your app.
That took a long time.
I was sat there, I was just going through 1, 2, 3, however many we got up to. And now I have been a customer of Barclays since I was about 14. And so I went to their wealth management and I said, look, this large amount of money is about to come in. Can you set me up? And you go to this very posh place in Mayfair and everyone's got Bentleys and all that sort of stuff, and they set you up. And then they're like, oh, well, we want to take this part of it and we'll invest this part and we do this and we do that. Barclays has a whole ecosystem where there's about 8 different advisors I have within there. And they, one talks about tax, one talks about future family planning, one talks about actual investment, one talks about risk. So you sort of go into an ecosystem. Now, many people would say don't go to the big corporates, but I'm very fortunate. I made more money than I'm ever going to need. So I'm not like counting every single penny now. I'm almost like, just do whatever's easiest for me that gives me the least hassle. And for anyone who's in investment at the moment, the investment returns currently are phenomenally good on relatively low risk environments. So actually, like, it's spitting out more money than we could ever need on top of what we've already got. So it's a very, I'm saying this very like blasé, but it's a really wonderful place to be. But you almost feel more of a responsibility now because you're now getting more money. And how are you going to avoid inheritance tax? And what about this? And what about that? Almost exclusively, the advice I've been given by various different people is, Andrew, you're 39. Okay, you've got some time to think about this. Don't panic just yet. Take some time, cut out a bit of the money if you want to go and waste it on something and do that, which I haven't really done. And do it. So look, what I did with my money, I bought a farm, as I mentioned, which you guys came to see. And I've got all the space at the back where we drive the quad round and have the forest, and we filmed some stuff in the forest, didn't we? And pretty much then, after buying all the stuff for my family and that, I haven't actually gone too wild. We did some reorganization of the house that we bought. I bought a bright yellow McLaren, which I had for like 6 months. I bought for around 100 grand, and then I sold it for 90 grand a few months later because I felt like a bit of a fraud driving around in a bright yellow sports car. Not to say I love my cars, but just not the flashy ones where everyone's taking pictures of you as you're driving around. So, but look, everything I've just said is wonderful, but everybody's version of money and success is different. If you want a bright yellow McLaren and a ride in a helicopter, fantastic. If that's what makes you feel good, then you do it. But work it out and get some advice around your investment in the lead up to the exit event you're going to have. Because it does feel a big weight on your shoulders when there's 8 figures sat in your account and you're like, what do I do now? And do you know, I was really worried about fraud. I was really worried somehow someone was going to get into my debit card and start taking big chunks of the money out.
Okay.
And there's something called an international reserve account, which is what I moved it into, which is sort of, there's no card for it. So it just sits in an international reserve. But I mean, with cybercrime, anything's possible. But I sort of, I was very apprehensive about having that amount of money in a certain place. But it is also magical. And it is also everything you have sacrificed and worked for 9, 10, 20 years, whatever you've done, all of a sudden you open your account and that's the moment. Yeah. And it's there. And no one can take it away from you because it's in your account and it's real and you know you've run a great business. For anyone who's striving for that, I promise you it's worth it, but it's hard to get to that stage. And I'm also hyper aware many people have not got to that stage. They've got close, they've maybe had an offer, it hasn't happened. And I can only empathize with how stressful that must be. But yeah, we got there and now it's about enjoying life and making the most of the time. And hopefully I have another 40 years of doing things like this. So yeah, that's my view on exit.
Yeah, I think I really loved that analogy of swimming to the island. Just as you were saying that, so powerful. I can almost imagine because and it's almost the tide's against you and you're swimming harder. And I love the fact that you spoke about that. You can't see it, and then all of a sudden you can see it. And then you have to start picturing what that looks like. And I think that was just really powerful. Just hearing you say that.
And actually, so Stuart from Pern. He wrote me a report and he just said, Andrew, you won't appreciate what I've written down now. You will appreciate it when you've finished.
Okay.
And so I've been back to read it. And it's just a powerful piece about you in a way that no one's ever been able to do it. So if you do know you're coming up for a very stressful event, like, again, men in particular, get out your own fucking way and go and talk to someone and have the conversations about it. Because we know men's mental health is a really stressful thing. And actually going to sit with another bloke in an office for 6 times and just having a chat is a very accessible way to do it and hugely beneficial. I couldn't see the benefit immediately at the time. Absolutely, on reflection, I can. Yeah. And that's the most important thing because you're caught up in it as you're sort of saying it. And I didn't agree with everything he said at the time, but now you read it back, I'm like, yeah, actually, I get it. I get it. And that's the importance of talking to each other.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, from the time that we've spent with you, that it is so apparent how passionate you are about the family, and I love the way how we were filming, and you were and you were saying, well, at 3:30 I need to pick up the kids, and I just love that because you can do whatever you want, and you're making that a huge priority because it's much easier for you now, and you're so appreciative of your wife and all your family, and that is your number one so clearly now. Yeah. And it is so heartwarming to see because it's so apparent.
Thank you.
So yeah, it's lovely to see that it's not just the money that's the success. It's everything that encompasses.
And I just finished on the social media. That I won't use any names, but there are some social media accounts that I follow, and you see people who've made significantly less money than I have, pretending that they live lives significantly more extravagant than I do. It's not true. Or if they are leading that life, it is not from the amount of money they made from selling a business. It's probably daddy's money that enabled them to do it. Just such a warning. Just don't believe the social media stuff. Like, just build your own reality. Yes, go and get followers and interact and do all that stuff, but just please don't compare yourself to others because it's not real. Many of them have got marketing companies and PR companies and paying fake followers and paying fake commenters. It's easy to look at others and think that they've got it all worked out and they're better than you. They're not. Yeah. I'm no better than anyone else watching this podcast. Neither are they better than me. It's just how you use those opportunities that are there.
I think that is the perfect place to end. I really do. So if people want to learn more about you, Andrew, how can they find you?
So 2 places. So on LinkedIn, I'm just Andrew Hulbert. And then on Instagram, I'm _Andrew Hulbert. They're probably the 2 best places to go. Yeah.
Thank you for today. Honestly, it's been so great. I always love our conversations. I really do. I learn so much. And funny enough, when I finish chatting to you, I always feel so buzzing. Even if it's just like that 1-minute voice now, I'm like, Helen, we got to do this. This is a fucking brilliant idea.
I am sorry about all the voice notes. I've been doing a lot of driving recently. So voice notes are so convenient for me. It's very millennial.
I love them. So thank you.
No, absolute pleasure. Thank you, Andrew.